Your Excellency. It's a great honor to meet you, and I'd like to ask you about my questions. So, since the EU carries out the policies equally to every member states, some nations face problems, I think, like to explain the freedom of movements. Member states like Hungary, Bulgaria, and Greece are now suffering from the outflow of high-class manpowers, and almost every one of them head west. They say they don't even have enough members to lead their countries. In addition, these countries do not have the capacity to receive immigrants because the population itself is shrinking very rapidly. So I think EU should have different politics according to the country's current situations. How do you view on this?
Well, the migration, it's a migration issue, but it's also an economic issue. The idea, and I have to explain that perhaps, is that within the European Union you should have solidarity. So we had always countries which were poorer. Traditionally that used to be Portugal, Spain, southern part of Italy, Greece, but also Ireland. And the idea was that you work with these countries so that they become richer, and that at the end everybody becomes richer. Well, that means that richer countries have to transfer some money to poorer countries. We call it regional policy, and that is happening in every country. I mean, also in Korea, the area around Seoul is richer than the south of the country. So that means that the provinces in the north have to give some money to the provinces in the south. That's solidarity within Korea. It's not easy. I read that in newspapers, there are arguments. And it's even more difficult in the European Union if one state has to give it to another state. But our regional policy is trying to achieve that. So that's within solidarity that should work for migration, that should work also for economic issues. I have said should, because it doesn't work all the time. If you take again migration or refugees, well, you have to know geography. The southern part of Europe, which is more or less Greece, Italy, Spain and Portugal to a less extent, that's where refugees come. And the European idea is, well, if you come from North Africa to Europe, you will not come automatically to Sweden, which is in the north. So we should have a system to have a distribution of refugees and migrants within the European Union. So we are trying to achieve that for 2 years. It is working to a certain extent, but it's not working very well. But the solution is not to say to people, stay out, go back and get killed. You cannot do that. So we have to find a solution. It will still take some time, because it's a little bit overstretching solidarity. And it was the same situation with Greece, which had economic problems. And at the end of the day, it had to be bailed out by the other countries. Now that some countries which you mentioned, the Hungarians, the Poles, they say, oh, we don't want too many refugees. Well, you will have to convince them. And you have to remind them also of the situation. 1956, Hungary, they tried to get rid of the Soviet influence at the time, and the Soviet army came into Hungary and crashed the revolution which was starting. A few 100,000 Hungarians left the country as refugees, came first to Austria, then moved on to Germany and other countries, and we accepted them. Similar situation was 1968, when there was what was called the Spring in Prague, where the Czechs tried to get rid of Soviet influence. Soviet army came, many of them left the country as refugees and were accepted in other countries. So sometimes one has to remind countries of their history and say, well, 40 years ago you were in trouble and we helped you. Now there are others in trouble and now it's your turn to help them. But you're right, it's not easy.